What is going on, good people of Twitch? Thank you for joining me today for a very special occasion today. You don't just get me today, but you get double the shred attack. I've got my good pal, friend of mine, Bill Hudson, waiting on deck in Germany, I believe. This guy is joining us from across the world. You may know Bill from many, many bands he's played in. Too many bands to really mention, to be honest, but to name a few, he's on tour right now with Doro, the Metal Queen. He's got his new band called Northtale. Played with Udo Dirkschneider, Savatage, Power Quest, old school power metal band called Celador. I Am Morbid, Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and many more. Let's bring in our guest of honor, Mr. Bill Hudson. How's it going, my friend?
What's up? Okay, I need to fix this. All right. Hey, man, thanks for having me, Grant. And by the way, you got pretty much every band. That's great job, man.
I think there's a few in there that we could maybe touch on, like The Supremacy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that was never really a band, but that was a project. That's
Yeah,
cool,
you guys had like one demo out, I think.
Yeah, well, the Supremacy was really, I was like 19 or something. I was still living in Brazil at the time, and I was trying to get out of there and
Right.
play with foreign musicians. So I got together with Mark Cross, who had just left Halloween, and we did that project. But it never really went anywhere. We did 2 demos, and that was it. But that was like the first time I worked with someone that wasn't from Brazil, someone that I was an actual professional, and that was pretty cool.
Cool, man. Yeah, so you grew up in Brazil in Sao Paulo. How was it growing up as
Yeah.
a young Bill? What was your childhood like?
So much. Oh, dude, actually, I was bullied a lot. I didn't have like the coolest childhood.
Right.
But by the way, speaking of Brazil, good Hebrew shirt. I love that.
Thank you,
But
man. I
those guys are very, very close friends of mine, and I've known them for like I don't know 15 years now. Good friends. And when I say Hebrew, I really mean the old lineup. Like
yeah.
I don't really know the new guys.
I mean,
But
yeah,
Abel
same
is still
here.
my buddy.
It was last interview I had last week. I was wearing a Northtale shirt. So this week I'm wearing a
Oh, no
Hibria
shit.
shirt. You guys can guess what that means.
That's yeah, but yeah, but back to my childhood. That's really part of how I got into power band. Because in Brazil, we growing up in the '90s, Angra was very big, and it wasn't just that they were big. There was a big machine to make them big. Like there
Mm,
was a big magazine that was managing them, so they opened the market for essentially a lot of power metal. So we started getting into Stradivarius, Gamma Ray, Blind Guardian, all that stuff. I saw Gamma Ray in '97. I saw Blind Guardian in '98. It's like that's basically, I didn't have that many friends in school, so I got into power metal and guitar. That's basically how it was.
Wow, you're lucky that there was so many good shows and power metal shows at that coming to Brazil.
Yeah, yeah, we are a very power metal country, and even a little bit to this day.
Yeah.
Like it's not as big anymore, but it's still. South America in general is a great market for this kind of music. You guys gotta get up there.
Yes, yeah, that is
Like,
true. That is true. I mean, Brazil
yeah,
does breed some of my favorite power metal in Hibria and Angra,
yeah,
for sure. And
exactly.
we just discovered. I've been
Do you
doing
know
these.
more Brazilian bands? Do you
Yeah,
know any more?
yeah. I mean, we just discovered Symbols. Just recently.
Edu's old band.
Yeah, Edu's
Yeah,
initial band. Yeah, yeah. How Angra discovered him. Um, and then
yeah,
Shaman, and there's some really good like thrash bands that I can't really think of the names anymore. It's been a while, but
yeah. Brazil in the '90s was a real big breeding ground of amazing power metal. But I don't want to get into that subject here. But like, it's very hard to make it there because of the way the audience see. So a lot of these bands never made it out of there because there was no support. But Symbols is a very good example. because even though the machine was completely against them at the time, they just got into people's hearts. They started getting big over word of mouth, and they got so big that the magazine couldn't like shit talk them enough, and ended up with it doing the band.
Right. What do you mean by the
There was
machine?
also, oh
Like the
man.
industry, the industry machine?
Yeah, yeah, it's very hard to explain that concept to like people who aren't from Brazil, but there was a whole, how do I say this? So there was a whole machine, there was a whole thing made to make Anchor big. You know
Mm,
what I mean? They were managed by the only magazine that existed at the time. So they were like on the cover of the magazine every 2 3 months. And this doesn't happen anymore. This is back in the day, right? And that same magazine used to trash talk a lot of bands, which is honestly
really?
why I never tried anything with music in Brazil.
Oh, wow.
I Yeah, I knew that. You know what I mean? Like all my friends would put out symbols. You're talking about symbols. They were trash talked on that magazine before he was in the band. So there was this
I
there was a
wonder,
there was a band called, no, I think it's hilarious because the magazine was like, oh, their singer sounds like a pig being raped or something like that. And then 6 months later he was in Angra and he was the best singer in the world to that. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
I wonder how Edu,
So
viewed that coming into Angora and be like, hey, you guys, you remember,
he's just laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there were more bands. There was a band called Wizards also that they got picked up by the same label as Anger in Japan, and but still, like, people like didn't listen to them in Brazil at the time because they had short hair. They opened for Stradivarius and people were like, oh, they have short hair, what are they doing there? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
There was another
image.
band called, uh, go ahead.
I mean, image does unfortunately play a big part in bands and in
Yeah.
marketing and things
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
this was a very good proof. There was a band called Aquaria too, that their drummer ended up playing with Timo Tolkien Revolution Renaissance after.
Mm.
That band has a record called Lux Eterna. If you haven't checked that out yet on your power metal things, check that album out, dude. It's
By
fantastic. It's called
Wizards,
Aquaria, and no, Aquaria. It's another
Aquaria.
band, Aquaria. And the album is called Lux Eterna. One word, Lux Eterna. That is one of the best power metal records ever made, and nobody knows because
Wow.
we came out in Brazil and they never had the support that they needed. You know?
Fair enough. I mean,
So
the thing that
yeah,
always surprised me with, especially with like Hibria and how many new members they're always having to get, there seems to be like a never ending supply of just amazing musicians in Brazil. Like the
yeah,
musicianship in Brazil
absolutely.
is just insane. Like, why do you
The
think that
art
is?
part of it. Why do I think? Oh, I know why. I know why because that's how I was too. We just figure, we just need to get better
Mm,
to have a chance to compete in the market.
right.
And plus, I mean, you got to understand, like, America discovered Kiko how many years ago? 5 or 6. He's always been our guy. He
Yeah.
was my first guitar teacher in like '95.
Right.
You know, so we grew up used to that kind of playing. We grew up used to that kind of writing, and it's just the whole extreme metal thing that's so big in America. Yeah, it happens in Brazil too because we have Sepultura and we have Crisium, but a lot like Angra, specifically Angra, made a really, really, really big impact in all musicians of our generation. You know? So basically, we just wanted to be like that. So we just keep getting better. And to this day, man, Roberto Barros, Edu Falaschi's current guitarist, in
Mm-hmm.
my opinion, is one of the most technical guitarists in the world, not just in Brazil.
Right.
Like he's taking it to the next level. But yeah, we're just very passionate people, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And it obviously shows. Some people here are mentioning, of course, Alma, Viper, Shaman.
All of these bands are connected with Anchor. That's what I was telling you. Like,
Yeah.
there's this thing where like people only know the bands that are like offsets of them or have musicians that were in them. Viper specifically, was Andre Mato's first band before Anchor.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was 15 on the first album,
Yeah.
dude. 15. And
Crazy.
Soldiers of Sunrise, in my opinion, is also one of the best albums ever made in Brazil. He was like 17, maybe. And Alma, I've actually played with Alma. That's Edu's band
Yeah.
when he left Angra, and I've done a couple of shows with them too. I didn't end up joining because I live in Brazil and because I live in the States, and that would have been way too expensive to do. But I did play with him. Dude is one of my best friends, and it's his birthday today, by the way. He's
Oh
turning 50.
wow! Well, a big happy birthday
Yeah,
to you, Falashi.
yeah. Parabéns, Edu. Valeu.
So you mentioned you had Kiko as an early guitar teacher. How
Yeah.
important do you think guitar lessons and getting a teacher and things like that are for young guitar players,
So, in
or
my
even
opinion,
experienced ones?
yeah. So, I used to think that it was very important. I personally, I'm very schooled. I studied with him, and then I went to college, and I always wanted to be like a music nerd, and I still am. I'm a music theorist. I say that. But dude, I know people that can't read a note. They're geniuses. John Oliva from Sabotage in the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean, he's not a guitarist. He's a piano player, but still, he's never
Hmm.
had a lesson. He can't read a note, and he writes all that up basic.
Right.
So I think it helps. Like I think having a teacher helps, but it's not crucial. Especially not nowadays that you can just go on YouTube and learn whatever you want.
True.
At the time I started, that wasn't an option. And not only that, we didn't have access to the instructional videos either. We had to like buy them at this metal mall that we have, like bootleg, and and uh, and and it used to take like 2 months. In our case, we kind of didn't have a choice. But I don't know, man. I know amazing musicians who never took a lesson, so I don't know what my stance is on that, to be honest.
Yeah. No. Fair enough. Um, so you moved from Brazil to the U.S. Because
Right.
Brazil, it was a bit of a dead end for music. You never
For Brazilian
for
musicians,
Brazilian
not for
musicians.
music. For if your band is German, American, Canadian, Swedish, you can go there and get sold out shows. If you're Brazilian, people don't really support you. It's like Sweden, but backwards. You know how in Sweden the Swedish bands are bigger than overseas?
Yeah,
In Brazil, it's the other way around.
yeah. Why do you think that is, other than the quote unquote machine?
I honestly, well, there's a few things. Like, first of all, we have this culture of like worshiping one person. Like it's the same with soccer. Like there's one Romario, one Ronaldo. It, and it's normally the first one. And
Yeah.
because Angra had that whole, as I said, machine behind them, they ended up being the only band that people listen to. And anything different is like, well, you have a band, cool. I have a band too. You know what I mean? It's like I don't care about your band. I can see your band any time. But it's not just with music. That works that works like in society in general. If it's Dude, I've been in America for 20 years and I still haven't been able to explain properly to anybody how that works. You know what I mean? But that is why I left. That is the reason I left.
Hmm. What does your practice routine guitar wise look nowadays compared to like your teenage years? Like how often were you practicing? What kind of uh, exercises, or what kind of schedule did you have earlier on compared
Mhm.
to now?
So teenage me was very obsessed with speed and arpeggios and tapping and stuff like that. That's all I was about. I had videos and I was always practicing my six tuplets. I was practicing my eight finger tapping. I really wanted to be a flashy show off guitarist. And then I became a professional and I understood how much that shit doesn't matter. you know. So right now, like I can't even tell you at the beginning of my career how many bands I auditioned for that saw me playing. They're like, "Yeah, you're great, you're shred. Now can you play rhythm?" and I couldn't,
Right.
back in the day. So when that started becoming a problem, then I started practicing more of that and being like, well, I want to work on my sound. The difference between a muted note or a open note, or a power chord or a single note. Those nuances, that feel. That is more what I practice now. Like the first thing I do every day, whether or not I'm on tour, the first thing I do every day is I put a metronome, normally at around 100, and I down pick, for like 15 minutes, open string. That's the beginning. You know.
Yeah.
Then I'll do a little bit of upstrokes, still to the click.
Mm.
At this point, I haven't even used this hand at all.
Yeah.
You know.
His hand's
Then
still
I
drinking
get
some
I give
coffee
my
or something.
yeah, exactly. Then what I do is I give the picking hand a rest, because after 15 minutes of down picking, your hand hurts.
Yeah.
And then I start just running. Then I do like chromatic scales, all that stuff with the left hand alone. You know,
With the left
because
hand
because
only.
to me, yeah, left hand only,
Yeah.
because to me, when you hear a guitar player trying to shred but he's a little sloppy, that's normally because the left hand isn't as fast as the right. Because
Mm.
the right hand, you can you can like speed pick all day, but if this hand doesn't follow, it's gonna sound slow.
Yeah.
So I do, still on the click, I do scales, whatever, basic three note per string scales, like just shapes, but I do left hand only. And then when I'm actually practicing something that I want to improve on, I practice improvisation over like a drum. Like I'll get a bass playing an open note, whatever,
Yeah.
with some drums, and I'll start improvising. Oh, how does this sound? How does this sound over that? So in other words, like teenage me was worried about the aesthetics, the show off, the flashiness, and adult me is more worried about how does it sound.
Mm.
Like how do I make my guitar sound good? Does that make sense?
Very much so. Sounds like quite the maturity you've come into. Because and
Yeah,
that's
I'm
one
an
thing
old
that
guy now.
that's one thing about you that I really respect and enjoy. Not besides your guitar playing, but just your attitude. Most people would think lead guitarist with you know always cut sleeves, tattoos. Oh, the star on the show would have a big ego, but you are like one of the most down
Mhm.
to earth, like nicest, humblest dudes that I've ever met.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks,
Um,
man. And so are you, by the way. So are
hey,
you, by the way. Yeah, I tell people that it's true.
I think it's.
But
I think it's. You don't get anywhere these days anymore with it with an ego and trying to be a
you
dick
don't,
and
man.
thinking
And
that
and
you're.
at the end of the day, like I think we've reached a point on guitarists in general where everybody's so good. Everybody. Oh shit, sorry. For those that don't know, I'm in a tour bus, in a moving bus.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, like everybody has gotten so good at guitar. Everybody can play arpeggios. Everybody can pick fast. Like that is no longer impressive as it once was. Some people are freaks. Like Roberto from Edu. Like some people are freaks or whatever. But other than that, man, it's about musicality. You have to do something different because everybody has already done all the shredding.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's probably
That's how I see it.
why you've been accepted and embraced by all these great musicians, Doro and Udo and TSO and
Well,
Sabotage.
yeah, when I'm playing for an artist like that, like Doro or Udo, my job is to make them sound good. You know, and that's one thing I always keep in mind. It's not about me. If I get a long solo, if I get something, that's cool. Yeah, most artists have offered me, do you want to do a guitar solo spot? You know what I mean? And then I'll go and do my thing. But for the most part, I'm getting paid to make them sound good. It's
Yeah,
not my show; it's their show.
yeah. And so you've been, you've spent a good part of your career being kind of a session player, always being a guy joining other
Yeah.
bands. Hiron, now, as of what, 2019, we have Northtale coming out, which is kind of your brainchild. Is this? I know it
Yeah.
kind of started out as like a solo project. You know, you kind of had like a solo project kind of in mind. You've been getting
Yeah.
some songs together. When did the idea to not make it a solo project and turn it to an actual band really come into fruition?
So Northdale, a lot of honestly, dude, Northdale, you know how I talked about my childhood and how I grew up with power metal and all that? Northdale is the band I could never do when I was in Brazil. You know, I had the dream of having a power metal band. Some of the songs I wrote back then, you know, on the first album, not on this. Uh, some of the songs I wrote back then because I mean, I wanted to do it, but I knew it was impossible. And then when I moved to America, it was even less. Like I moved to America in the middle of the metalcore thing. You know, everybody was listening to Killswitch Engage and bands like that. So I mean, yeah, I did do Salador, but it wasn't my band. You know, I wasn't playing my music. It was someone else's music. Salador
Right.
was really the beginning of my session musician career, so to speak.
Right.
Let me find a better spot for this camera. Sorry, man. All right.
Oh, you're all
Anyway,
good.
so when I was touring with Udo in 2017, I realized that everything I wanted to do in my life, I had done. You know what I mean? I played, I toured the world. I left Brazil. I made music my full-time job. I played with all my idols. I'm like, okay, what you know, what's missing? How come I still don't feel like I've achieved what I wanted? And the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm playing someone else's music. I'm one of my best friends who unfortunately passed away a couple of years ago, Ralph Santala. He played for Eister, Sebastian Bach. That guy used to say that I'm the most expensive cover guitarist in the world. And even though he wasn't offensive, I was like, you're not wrong. You know, like I'm playing with Udo. People want to see Wolf Hoffman, but they can't, so they see me. You know, I'll go play with TSO. They want to see Chris Oliva, but they can't, so they see me. You know, so I was like, what does my music sound like? You know, like everybody knows who I am, everybody knows what my face looks like, but nobody knows what I actually sound like. So what I want to put my music together. And at this point, I've accomplished so much that if that doesn't work, if the band doesn't go anywhere, it's not that big of a deal, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I have these other three jobs here that will keep me on the road. The rest was gonna be all instrumental. You know, I was gonna try to pull an Ingve Malmsteen, have like two vocal songs, and everything else instrumental. And I started looking for singers. At first I talked to basically more well-known guys, you know, including Edu.
Mm.
Uh, but then I was in Europe and I saw this band Twilight Force playing, you know,
Mm.
and I remember at first he wasn't really my cup of tea, but the singer was incredible. You know, I'm like, dude, that guy is like Michael Kiske right now. You know, he had the look, he was blonde with blue eyes, he looked like a Viking. And that was Christian Eriksson, our first singer in
Mm.
Northdale. And then when I saw him, I was like, I wish I could steal this guy. You know? Then they came and played Prague Power, and the next day he was out of the band. I'm like, all right, that's my singer. So I contacted him, and at first I asked him, I'm like, dude, do you want to do, you know, my solo record? This is what it is, blah blah blah. I sent him the songs, and he sent me two demos back. I'm like, all right, this is the guy. This is definitely the guy. But then we start talking more, and I'm like, all right, man, you know, at this point, you're as important as I am to the project, so we should just be a band. You know, that was kind of like that because the instrumental songs I had all ended up becoming vocal songs. I realized that I don't like instrumental music as much as I thought I did, and that I really liked power metal as much as I did as a kid. So that was it. You know, Christian brought in Patrick Johansson, our drummer, who's still our drummer. He from Ingve Malmsteen and ex Wasp and ex Ingve Malmsteen. He also brought in Michael Planefeld, our bassist, and I brought in Jimmy Pitts, our keyboard player. So and then we became a band. You know, I started writing songs for a band, and that's kind of how it was. Christian, unfortunately, is no longer with us. Now we have a Brazilian singer, by the way, with Guilherme Hirose, and but it's still the same thing. It's still a band. It's I'm just the leader of the band, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not my solo project anymore.
How is that dynamic being the leader of the band instead of just kind of showing up and giving the spotlight to somebody else? What do you think is the hardest part of that has been?
But I do. I don't really have any. Uh, I don't really. How do I say? I don't really act as a leader on stage
Yeah,
or
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, of
yeah,
course, not like it's not like I'm forcing that on people. I'm not like that.
yeah.
They came in the band understanding that this was my project, just like me here with Doro. I'll never
Mm-hmm.
try to tell Doro what to do because it's Doro's band.
Yeah.
You know, so the guys in the band, they know they came into my band and they're okay with that. So we never had any issues. That it was the only issue I ever had with that was with our old singer, and that's why he's no longer here.
Right. So you guys just put out a new album in 2021. Do you guys plan on
Yeah, we
doing?
did.
I mean, right in the middle of the pandemic, as many other bands. Uh,
Yes.
what do you guys have coming up for tours and stuff?
Man, right now we're still trying to book something because I mean one of the reasons that the album came out in November because it was a little bit delayed was because we were going to support you guys on that tour, and I
Yeah.
wanted I wanted the album to come out like shortly before the tour. So since the tour didn't happen and we couldn't get on anything, we ended up kind of losing the timing of that. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm writing new music, and we're gonna try. We got a couple of European festival offers for next year, but I can't say what it is yet because they haven't announced.
Of course. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then our booking agent, which is Volkmar, the same as you guys, from Decibel. He's working on a tour, on a pretty big tour for next year. And to be honest with you, I'll be surprised if it happens. But I know he's worked out.
Cool, man. Very cool. So I know
Good.
it's been a while since you've drinking, and you've pretty much your whole touring life has been a non-drinker. Um, I'm curious. Do you have any activities or way to kind of not cope, but handle that lifestyle without partaking? Like how did that go? Because for myself, I've always been the opposite. Touring has always been like that. But I've recently stopped, and I'm going to be going out on tour eventually here, without
Mhm.
drinking. And I'm curious if you have any tips, ways, other activities that you've
Well,
picked up to stay busy.
well, I'll be honest with you, man. I stopped drinking. I drank for 12 years, really happily. And towards although the majority of my career I've been sober, I did tour for about 5 years when I still drank, right? And the last tour, so I'll tell you what happened, and then I'll tell you like why I can't really offer any solid advice, but I'll tell you what I did.
Mm,
So the last tour that I did drinking was in 2011. Was a Firewind tour in the U.S. And it was called Threats of Fury, and I was playing guitar for Night Rage, which is Gus's other band that was the opening band on the tour. Actually, at the time, I was filling in for Olaf, who was in Amaranth, who was out with Amaranth at the time. And that tour, man, it was insane. Like, I'm not joking. I don't remember much of it. I kind of
mm,
remember the first day, and that I remember some flashes here and there, but I do remember Gus being really pissed off at me because we were sharing the bus. I do remember Gus being pissed off at me, and not not and people telling me, like, Gus is not happy with your drinking, blah blah blah. And I remember the day I heard that we were playing Peabody's in Cleveland. And I literally ripped a gumball machine out of the ground. I was that drunk and brought it into the bus. And
I mean, who
dude,
wouldn't be
yeah,
happy with
I
that?
was that type of drunk. Yeah, I was that type of drunk. Like I wasn't just a fun drunk. I was the drunk that breaks shit. I was a drunk that talked shit to people. I used to do that a lot. And whenever I would be at a festival with a musician that I didn't respect, I would go and talk shit to them. Like everything wrong. I
Yeah.
was the stupid. I was the drunk that should never be allowed to do anything. And anyway, at the end of this tour, this 2011 tour that I'm telling you, um, the last show was in LA where I used to live, and on a Thursday. And how do I know it's a Thursday? Because after the show, I went to the Rainbow and started drinking, and that's the last thing I remember. But I woke up the Wednesday after. So it's a whole week of a drinking binge at home, not on tour. I was already done with the tour. I just started partying on the last show and didn't start till a week later. Didn't stop until a week later. And my wife, like, when I woke up, because I lived close to a liquor store, like right across the street. So I came in this pattern where I would wake up, be hungover, walk to the liquor store, grab a new bottle, come home and drink and pass out again. Like that became a pattern for a week. And I woke up on Wednesday on like 3 a.m. so I couldn't buy more booze. That's how I sobered up. And my wife is like, "Do you have any idea what you did?" I'm like, and then she starts telling me, "You pissed on the cat food. You wanted to break the windows. Like I was just being obnoxious." And at the same time, I was really out of shape. I was about 250 pounds, so like 120 kilos, 125 kilos. And I was just 29 too at the time. And I'm like, I'm going to be 30. Nobody's going to want to hire me for their band. I'm going to be 30. I'm heavy and I'm a drinker. Nobody's ever going to want to give this guy a gig. And pretty soon I'm also going to be old. Pretty soon I'm also going to be like 35 or whatever. So I have to stop. So I did. This tour ended in, I believe, October. And I made a promise that on New Year's Eve I would stop. But I would stop. At first, I was only going to stop for a month. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop for a month. And then after a month, I'll reassess. And that was a New Year's promise. And on New Year's Eve, I got so wasted. I got so wasted. I was with my dad at one of his friend's house, and I got kicked out of the house. Like my dad had to take
Kicked out of your own dad's house.
no, my dad's friend. My
Oh.
dad's friend. But yeah, but my dad was on their side too. My dad is like, dude, you're an idiot. Let's go home. So the next day I wake up. And I was a morning drink, and there was a bottle of vodka right next to me. Again, at my dad's house. So I was just gonna grab the bottle and start drinking as I always did. And then I remembered the promise. I'm like, oh fuck, I can't. And then I dealt with the hangover. And then I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do now? And then I thought, I'm like, well, if I'm stopping drinking to get in shape, then I need to go to the gym. But I didn't really know how to work out.
Mm.
So I went down to my dad's building has like a gym. It's not a tiny gym, but it didn't have a lot, but he had a treadmill. And I just got on the treadmill and I started walking. And then I started trying to run. And all I know is at the end of 30 minutes, I felt so fucking good that I'm like, man, maybe that's what I need to do. Maybe I need to start working out. So I started to replace booze with working out.
Mm.
Now, I also became a pretty big weed smoker after that happened. The weed helps keep the edge out, but at the same time, I mean, it wasn't a replacement because I can go 6 months without smoking weed, and that's not a problem. A problem. With alcohol, I could. you know. So anyway, I was just I tell you how I stopped. What I do on the reverse because I don't know. I have the same lifestyle. I can grab a bottle of vodka and smell it right under my nose, and or I often spit it out. It wouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I I just don't drink. It's like I'll sit next to someone drinking and not drink. I'll smoke my pot or whatever, but that puts you in a different mindset. You don't really want to party, you just want to hang out.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what it is. I sleep early. Like I don't party a whole lot anymore on tour unless it's worth it. If there's a super after party and there's a bunch of friends or someone in court, and I'll go or whatever. But I won't just go and like hang out with a bunch of people drinking. Hey guys, buy me a shot. I
Mm-hmm.
just don't do that shit anymore. I just come in the bus and I go to bed. But um, this is kind of unique to me. I know other people who stop drinking who can't even be around someone drinking.
Hmm.
You know, like that was never the case with me. I don't know. I work out a lot. Like I
Mm-hmm.
work out, I smoke pot, and those are the two things I do instead of drinking,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Well, I think that's a very accurate way to do it because when you take away a habit, there's like a void that's there, and I don't think you can really just quit something without replacing it with something else,
Mm.
and
No,
finding something
no,
like
exactly.
because like I did the same thing 8 years ago or so now, but with other drugs. And I stopped doing that, and
Yeah, yeah,
I immediately started training at the gym, and I got addicted to that instead, and like being
yeah.
fit and healthy, and it's like quite the better trade
That
off.
that is a good addiction to have. That
Yeah,
is a much better addiction to have.
yeah, for sure. What's the thing you miss the most about being away from home? What's the thing you miss most about home?
My wife and my dogs,
Yeah.
honestly. And man. Oh, I'm sure you've had this feeling too. That thing that most musicians have, that you want to be on the road, you miss home. Then you're home, you want to be on the road.
Yeah.
So so like that I mean that happens to me a lot. The last time I was at home, just now, because I was on another tour with I Am Orbit that ended on April 25th. So I got home on the 26th, and I already came here. So I didn't have enough time to be home to miss the road, if that makes sense.
You're like,
So
already? I'm not
yeah,
ready yet.
yeah, I was like, fuck, man. I'm home for 2.5 weeks, and I already have to leave, or 3.5 weeks. I'm home for 3.5 weeks, and I already have to leave. So at my house, I have my routine. Like I know my neighborhood, so I run every morning. I play with my dogs. I hang out with my wife. I like doing that a lot.
Yeah.
So I do miss that. But I gotta say, man, I love being on the road too.
Yeah.
Like it gets to me normally after 6 weeks. 6 weeks in a row, it starts getting to me. But until then, dude, I'm having fun every single second of every day.
Yeah.
I love it.
Especially
I really
like
love doing this.
one week in, you start to hit like this stride where it's like, okay, this is
Yeah,
this is the routine because every tour's schedule is a little bit different between like load in and sound check and when you
yeah,
play and what your crew's like. So yeah, I do find like after about a week, you've got like your road routine figured out.
yeah.
So you kind of get into this groove, and
Exactly.
it's like everything's comfortable and
Yeah, the last I Am Orbit tour was a lot like that. Like I remember at the beginning, the shows were a little rough, but like on the fifth show, we're like, okay, now we're machines. Now we don't even. It,
yeah,
it gets to that point where even if your monitor guy is not finding the spot and the monitor's kind of stuck, it's still you still can play. It's cool.
yeah. Your neck is gotten the iron neck by that point too. It's like
Exactly.
no matter what, the first few
Yeah,
shows
yeah.
are always
I
going to be
had
painful.
Yeah, yeah, dude. At the beginning of the Doro tour in October, after the first, I think, two shows, I couldn't turn my neck. I was having to turn my
Yeah.
whole body, like, to talk to somebody.
Who said
But there's
that?
someone here, like, what's up, man?
Yeah. Like a bodybuilder almost.
Yeah, dude. Exactly.
So how long have you been with your wife? She
Yeah,
sounds like
man.
she's been with you since even before you stopped drinking and
Oh, since the beginning. My
yeah.
wife, my marriage and my career happened the same week. Celador, the band we mentioned earlier, our first tour was with a Bullet for My Valentine in June of 2006. And no, it was like May of 2006. And before that, we started a little headlining run to kind of like warm up. And I got married on April 5th, and I'm pretty sure I left for the tour April 15th or something. So my wife is very used to my lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
and she does not like metal. You know, she doesn't like the music. She's been to TSO shows. She's been to a few of my shows. She went to see Udo in Jacksonville and all that, but it's really not her thing. And I think that's part of why we work so well. You know, why we get along so well, because I don't. When I'm home, honestly, I don't want anything to do with metal.
Mm-hmm.
If I came home and my wife was like, "Hey, did you see the new video from Gojira?" I would fucking go nuts. So
Yeah, it's refreshing.
so she's always been, yeah, exactly. So but she's my rock, man. Like without my wife, I couldn't have a career. That's
Yeah.
like right now my animals. When I'm home, my animals are my responsibility because she works a full time job,
Mm-hmm.
and right now she's working a full time job and taking care of the animals. You know,
Yeah.
like without her, I couldn't do this.
What do you think the key to a successful and happy relationship is?
I do not know. But I think honesty is a big part of it because with me and my wife, we are we are very honest. So when we don't like something, that's how a relationship is in every area. You know,
Mm.
every area. If we do, oh man, I really want to go to this restaurant. I fucking hate that restaurant. You go by yourself. You know, like honesty and it's we are a lot like that. You know, and it
Mm-hmm.
works, man. Like we've never had any major problems. We've been together 15 years now, and we
Wow.
never had any major issues. I mean, it's been great, man. And it's funny because I was never looking for a relationship. You know, I always focused 100% on my career,
Mm.
on playing guitar or finding gigs and all that. And I ended up meeting my wife right as I moved to America. I went to a mall like first day, and she was the manager at Spencer Gifts. I went there to buy a Vote for Pedro shirt, from Napoleon Dynamite,
Yeah,
because I thought it was hilarious, and I bought that shirt. I bought it from her,
and it was love
you
at first
know.
sight.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
dude. That's how we met. So, random thing. I wasn't looking for it, but there she was. It just happened like that.
Well, there's something to be said there, and
Yeah, man.
that was the same experience for me too. I met my partner when I was deliberately not looking for it. Like I was like, no, like that's the last thing I want, And then it
Yeah.
came knocking. I was like, well, I can't deny this now. Like you can't, and it's
Yeah,
like,
it's there. There's definitely. It's funny because I've been with my wife for so long, and I don't think that I have any friends that have been together with their partners for that long. You know,
mm-hmm.
or
16 years is
maybe older people.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
pretty good.
we got married. I was 22. So it's been. Wait, I was no, that was 23. Sorry, I was 23. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't looking and she wasn't looking. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? She was more worried about going to school at that time. So
Well, I
it
think
just
if you're
I guess it's what they call destiny.
yeah,
I
well,
don't
I
know.
think if you're like looking for it, you're compromising. Uh,
Exactly.
you're changing rules. Like, well, this doesn't quite fit how I had, what I really want, but like, I really want this, so I'm gonna compromise and make it work. It's like it's when you don't want
Exactly.
something that when the right thing comes by, you're like, oh, like you just can't deny it because it fits so perfect and the chemistry is there, or
Yeah.
same thing with like a job or a career opportunity. If you want something so bad, you're just like doing everything for it. It's not gonna happen naturally. I'm like, I don't know if
That's true.
that's
I believe that too.
like I don't want to sit here and talk too long, but I'm curious, like all these opportunities that you had as a session musician, they seem to really flourish. Like, what would you say, like 2012 and on? Like what?
Yeah, that's 2012 is exactly when it started.
Yeah, like what?
2012.
What do you think really opened the door? What was your first like big, quote unquote break? You think?
So it all started. It all started because I was very, very much a fan of Sabotage as a kid. Like it was. They're not really a power metal band, but in Brazil they were marketed as such.
Mm.
They were marketed as such. So like, they were part of the bands that magazine were able to sell to me when I was a kid. And I just had this thing in my head where like, man, when I moved to the States, I need to somehow get into the Trans-Siberian Orchestra because I knew how big of a deal that was. You know what I mean? I was like,
Mm-hmm.
man, this is playing arenas for 25,000 people every night. I really want this. And then, so moving to America, I kind of focused all my efforts, well, not all my efforts, but a lot of my efforts into trying to somehow get into that Sabotage Trans-Siberian Orchestra world. You know,
Mm.
because the Circle to Circle, John Oliva, Spain, there's all these bands around that, and I was like, I have to get into one. And then I got into Circle to Circle, which was Zach Stevens, the old singer for Sabotage and now a TSO,
Mm-hmm.
his band. You know, with that band, we played Wacken the first time in 2012. I had toured with them already here in Europe, 2008, 2009, as a drunken asshole. And then I got kicked out of the band for being a drunken asshole. And then when I stopped drinking, they called me back. And in 2012, I did Wacken with them for the first time in an European tour. I was only sober for 6 months at that point. So I was also afraid, hey, am I going to be able to stay sober? But luckily I was. So when I did that first tour, I met a couple people, a couple key people in Europe. You know, and that was always like, if you need a guitarist, let me know. If you need a guitarist, let me know. But at that point, it was just Circle to Circle, whatever. Hadn't done much.
Mm-hmm.
Then I had an opportunity to audition for John Oliva, which is the other singer for Sabotage, but he's the boss. He's the
Mm.
boss in Trans-Siberian Orchestra. He's the boss everywhere. So I was like, if I can get a gig playing with this guy, then things will be a lot easier for me.
Mm.
And sure enough, I got the gig playing with him in 2014. In 2015, I got the call to do the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. And then I did the big fucking show in 2015, the double stage headliner that we did,
Yeah.
Sabotage and TSO. That was, I think, the biggest show of the history of Wacken. And then everybody saw me there. Like I got contacted to play with Udo because of that. Then through Udo, I met Doro. And then when that gig became available, uh, I got that call. What do you do? Uh, I met with I Am Orbit was a little different. With I Am Orbit, I had an opportunity to audition for Morbid Angel in like 2008, but I blew that, and I didn't know any death metal. I barely knew what Morbid Angel was at the time. But I got the opportunity, and I knew it was a big band, so I went and auditioned. And even though I blew it, David really liked it. He's like, we should stay in touch. We'll do something together. So the second he got out of Morbid Angel, he called me. Hey, let's start doing stuff. So it's a lot of that.
Mm.
I got dude. I have to turn down offers pretty much. I don't know, every couple of months. I just had to turn down an offer of a actually bigger band than what I'm doing now with Doro, but I was already committed here,
Mm.
for a US tour. So I think I started kind of making a name because of that. So at this point, people call me. I don't have to search for gigs anymore. But it is what I told you maybe 20 minutes ago about being a cover guitarist. I'm always filling in for someone. It always starts like that. We need a
Yeah.
filling guitarist for this couple of shows. You want to do it? Then I come and I do 3, 4 shows. And oh fuck, you want to stay in the band? It happens like that a lot. And but I mean, I don't, I don't really have a big ego, but I know that I do my job really well. You know what I mean? Like I know that I'm really good at what I do, and I know I look good doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
Check both
being a good
boxes.
product is a part of it. Yeah, exactly, exactly. That's kind of how I ended up having such a good relationship with ESP too. Like
Mm.
I came out. I was on the cover of their catalog in 2013, and the guy who put me on the cover hadn't heard me play. He just loved this photo of me at a show, and he's like, you are the guitar player that I want kids to look at and be like, I want to be like that guy.
Mm.
So he put me on the cover. I mean, he didn't know how good I was.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I hope he can play.
Obviously, he figured I was good he figured I was good since I was an endorsed artist,
Yeah.
but I mean, he didn't really know. He didn't really know what I did or anything. So I think it all starts with doing your job well, which is kind of the same for your band, like anybody that sees your band, whether or not they like the music, they're gonna be like, holy shit, that band was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys are that good at what you do. So I think it kind of starts with that.
Cool, man. Well, I wish you a great tour, and thank you for coming on again. Bill, you actually just started a Twitch channel, I believe, right?
I did. Everybody watching, please add me on Twitch. It's at Bill Hudson GTR. I just started a Twitch channel. I did not stream it yet. Haven't done anything. But I will, and I'll try to do it on this tour because Grant here is a huge inspiration, man. I love what you're doing. I absolutely fucking love what you're doing. I think that is the future, and I think that people that aren't doing that are wrong. So, again, Bill Hudson GTR on Twitch. Please add me and follow me. Actually, that's in all social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, everything. Bill Hudson GTR.
Yeah, make sure you guys are going to follow him on everything. What's the best way to stay in contact with you? Where do you hang out the most on social media?
Probably Instagram.
Instagram, yeah.
That's yeah. If anybody wants to send me a message or send me money, because I love money, just hit me up.
Well, thanks again, man. I have one
Thank
closing
you.
question I like to ask every guest because we all have a different answer to this and something that's self-defined. But what is your definition, Bill Hudson, of success?
Oh, great question, man. I would say my definition of it has changed over the years, but my definition of success is you being able to do what you wanted to do. Because people want different things. You know what I mean? Like. If you ask someone who isn't in metal and you say, hey, what's your definition of success, in your area? They'll be like, if I'm playing arenas, if I'm playing for 10,000 people. For me, I don't need that. If I can be on the road, playing music, earning enough money to make a living, and I don't have to go, get a job or basically do anything that I don't want to do, in order to survive. I consider that success, and that's why when I was talking about Northtale, that's what it was. I was like, man, by all checkbox, by all standards, I'm very successful right now, but something is missing, which was my own band. So I think, if you're able to do it, if you want to be a lawyer and you become a lawyer, that's success. If you want to be a doctor, you become a doctor, that's success. You know what I mean? It's being happy with what you do.
Beautifully said, man. Beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. So thanks again, brother. I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate you bringing me on, and anytime you want to do this again, please hit me up, man. You're an awesome guy. Congratulations on all the success that you're having, and it's gonna get a lot bigger. I've seen it happen before. Like you guys are just on the cusp of becoming a huge band, and that is because you guys are so good at what you do and such cool people. Congratulations.
All right, much love, brother. Appreciate it, man. I'm clipping
Take
that
care,
and posting it everywhere. No, appreciate it, man. Thanks again. Much love to the rest of the band, everyone on the road with you. Travel safe, shred hard.
Take care.
Catch you again soon, bro.
Take care, man.